So that is not a big deal, and so I'm not going to talk about that why we are using a Python, and what is the basically a need of Python, and why basically a Python is going so much of popularity, all those things, because I think that you guys are familiar about this kind of a things. Okay, so I'm just going to start from a very basic, from basically a fundamentals part. Okay, so in today's session, I talk about maybe a data types. Okay, so what are the different kind of a data types available inside the Python, and maybe a second thing like maybe some kind of conditional and some kind of a looping statements. Okay, so maybe I'm assuming maybe some of you are already familiar with these things. Okay, so I think that you guys need maintain a patience so that we can continue for next 7 days, because from the third days then I'm start talking about a NumPy, then pandas, and then basically visualization, and then at on the last day I am going to basically show you a beautiful analysis. Okay, so I will show you that what kind of a question basically you can solve if you know the basics of data analysis. Okay, so just guys have patient and try to work along with me. So if you have, or if you already installed a Jupyter notebook, if you already have Anaconda, okay, so I just give you the walkthrough. So actually I think that yes, you are able to install all those things, maybe if I am correct, but then also I just give you a little bit of introduction. Okay, so what you need to do, you just go onto this page like Anaconda download and Anaconda individual edition, and from here you guys can basically install an Anaconda. Okay, and why I am basically using a Jupyter notebook, because Jupyter notebook is Jupyter notebook is basically a kind of notebook where you can trying to show what are you trying to perform. Yeah, you can analyze your each and every step. Okay, so you just need to download this Anaconda. Okay, so Python 3.8. So Windows user basically download this thing, and then Mac OS user download this thing, and then the Linux user can download from here. Okay, so it just take a little bit of time. Okay, so you guys can install from here. After that, basically you just go on to your search bar and just type Anaconda Navigator. Okay, so when you type Anaconda Navigator, so you can see that this kind of a screen in front of you. Okay, so I just give you a little bit of walkthrough. Okay, so this kind of a slip after making an installation. Okay, so installation is not a big deal. Okay, so it will take just a little bit of a time. I think Anaconda is just about a 423 MB, so it will not take a much amount of a time. Then from here you can launch your Jupyter notebook. Okay, so after launching the Jupyter notebook, you can basically see this kind of a page. Okay, so after launching Jupyter notebook, you can find this kind of a page in front of you. Okay, so I just give you a side walkthrough, and suppose the guys, if you want to basically learn Python in basically bits and pieces. Okay, so each and every steps. So you get maybe if you are actual beginners. Okay, so you can do one thing. So in basically a same YouTube channel. So a long 7 days session is basically available. Okay, so in a month of January, I took basically a long 8 days session, and on the eighth day, I basically built a dictionary app. Okay, so word meaning dictionary app with the help of Python. Okay, so you can go through that basically video playlist if you are basically absolute beginner. Okay, otherwise and I don't think that you guys are absolute beginner, and I don't think that you are facing a lot of issue, because these things are very normal, and I just go basically step by step, so it will not create much problem for you. Now, suppose it will basically redirect you in your basically a main directory. Okay, so I think in your home directory. Okay, so in your home directory you can see basically a desktop directory is available, then a document directory is available, then a downloads directory is available. Okay, so you can choose any one of the directory just for basically sake of simplicity. Just make a simple folder in any one of this directory. Okay, so maybe in desktop, maybe in document, maybe in downloads. Just create a one simple folder. Okay, so like me, I just create a simple folder like a data analysis in 7 days. Fine. Now if I click on this data analysis in 7 days, so what happens is, so this is basically a folder which I am created in that directory, in a download directory. Now I just click on the this new button, and then I need to click on the Python 3. Okay, so this in this way I am able to basically create a Jupyter notebook, and my Jupyter notebook is basically now open. So in this Jupyter notebook, you need to basically create your Python script. You need to create your Python program. Okay, fine. So guys who are already who are already having a Jupyter notebook installed in their system, or maybe who already basically who were able to install basically Anaconda and a Jupyter notebook. So you guys can basically do along with me, and maybe if you have any kind of a query, so you can ask me. And just don't worry, just after the session is over, so this recording will be available to you. Okay, so don't worry about maybe anything. Okay, so the recording is available on a YouTube channel, so don't worry about basically a recording. Now I just click on this notebook and just type a day one. Fine. So this is our day one. So I just type a day one, and I am going to start from a scratch. I'm going to start basically creating a program from a scratch. So I'm going to start from a data types, you can say a data structures in Python. Okay, so there are basically in a Python you need not to basically describe your data. Okay, so what kind of a data it is. Okay, so whether it is an integer or whether it is a string, you need not to describe. Okay, Python itself know that if something is written in a particular manner, so that is what that may be a string, that may be a list, that may be a tuple. Okay, so there are basically a different kinds of data types available inside a Python. So strings, then numbers, then tuples, then Python list, then dictionary, and then sets. Okay, so one by one I'm going to talk about each of them. So let's start with strings. So before strings, I just give you a little, I just basically let you know about the variables. Okay, so there are, so variables are what? So variables are something, you can say variables are something where you are trying to store your basically any kind of a data. Okay, so variables are something where you are trying to store your data. Like suppose consider your house basically needs a name. Okay, so you just place a nameplate at the front gate of your house. Okay, so people are then recognize your house through that nameplate. Okay, so that is basically a kind of variable. So suppose I want to create maybe I want to create a variable a, and inside a I just give a number. Okay, so maybe any kind of a number 7. Okay, so my a is basically a something in which I stored one integer. Okay, so a is my variable. Okay, now if I check the type of a, now if I check a type of a, so type of a is what? Type of a is nothing but an integer. In the same way, so if I talk about a strings, so suppose if I write anything, if I write anything inside a single quote or maybe a double quote, so that is considered to be what? That is considered to be a string. Okay, so this is what? This is a string, str. And here my a and s is what? My a and s is are variable, and s is what? S is a string. Fine, guys. So I think this much of thing. I think you all are able to understand about variable. Okay, and you can do one more thing like. you need to learn this thing. Okay, so at last and maybe a last session or maybe before that, I basically told you that just do one thing, just try to create a markdown for your data analysis. Okay, so any kind of an analysis when you try to make on your data set, you need to basically write down your analysis. Okay, so that basically a client is able to understand what are you basically trying to do. Okay, fine. Now, if I talk about strings, so what are the strings? So I already told you that anything inside a single quote or maybe a double quote is considered to be what is considered to be the strings. Okay, so that is fine. Now, if I want to access maybe any element, maybe if I want to access, so this is my S. So S is nothing but a Shivam Singh. Now, if I want to access anything, I want to know the address of basically my string. Okay, so how I can get the address of basically this S. So for that purpose, I need to write ID of S. Okay, so this is the address of my basically this particular string. Fine. Now, if I want to access maybe a single element, or maybe I want to access any element, maybe a single or maybe any element from this particular string. Okay, so this particular string is what? This particular string is nothing but Shivam Singh is written over here. Now, if I want to access maybe any element, okay, so I can access any element through their index value. Okay, so so string is basically stored in a form of basically heap memory inside a Python in the form of an array. Okay, so S is on the zeroth index value, then S index place, then H is on the first index place, then I is on the second index place in this way. Okay, so if I basically just give you the index value, so in this way, you can store basically your string. Okay, so S and then H, then I, then a V, then A, then M, then there is a space also, then S again, I again, N again, G and H. Okay, so this is the index value and this is called a forward indexing. This is called a forward indexing, right? And now this is called a reverse indexing. Okay, so this is called a reverse indexing. So if you want to access maybe a single variable, so you can access basically a single variable with maybe with a forward indexing or maybe with a reverse indexing. Okay, so just put that index value inside this basically square bracket. Okay, so suppose I want to access I. Okay, so suppose I want to access I. So 0, 1, 2. Okay, so my index value is what? 2. Now, if I want to access I from basically a reverse indexing with the help of reverse indexing, so that is nothing but a minus 10. Okay, easy. So this is what is called accessing. Okay, this is called string indexing. Okay, so in this way, you can access any element from the string. Now, if I basically tell you about a slicing. Okay, so what do you mean by a slicing? Okay, so, and in this way, with a hash operation, you can basically do the make a comment. Okay, so what basically you can do inside a slicing. So now you don't want to basically access just a single element. Okay, in this place now you want to access multiple elements. Okay, so multiple elements from from H to M. Okay, so you want to access H, I, V, A, M all together. Okay, ignoring this part, you only try to you only want to access H, I, V, A, M all together. Fine. Okay, so just do it. Okay, so I think I need not to remove this thing because this will help you to basically continue with the slicing operation. Fine. So H, I, V, A, and M. Then there is a space. Then S, I, N, G, and H. Fine. Then 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Then minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, minus 5, minus 6, minus 8, minus 9, minus 10, minus 11, and minus 2. Fine. Now, if I want to do the slicing, okay, so how I can basically do the slicing? Okay, so in a slicing operation, what you can do, so from suppose if I want to access from H to M, okay, so my first index value is what? My first index value is nothing but 1, fine. Now, just give a colon, and after the colon, write down the last index value. Okay, so till where you want to access. Okay, so I want to access till m, means my index value at m, my index value is what, 5. But always remember that upper bound is excluded. Okay, so upper bound is excluded, so you need to basically write an index value plus 1. Okay, so if you want to access m, which is on the fifth index place, so you need to write a 6. Okay, to basically access from 1 to 5, means h to m. Okay, fine. So in this way, you are able to access HIPAM. Okay, so in this way, if you want to access anything, now one more thing you need to know is what. So in this place, like if you try to write maybe 1 to 6 or maybe 1 to 7. Okay, means if I took tell maybe S. Okay, maybe if I took maybe 8. Fine, till this place. Fine. Now there is three things. Okay, so a start index value, then the end index. Okay, so from where I want to start, this is the first value. Then till where I want to go, and in this place, so by default it is 1. Okay, so by default it is always plus 1. Okay, now if I maybe if I want to make a change. Okay, so maybe if I want to make a change, I want to basically go not I don't want to go maybe a plus 1, maybe a 1 by 1. I just take I want to jump. Okay, so from after H I want V, after V I want M. Okay, and after M I want basically S. Fine. So I want a jump of 2. Yes, so you can get a jump of 2. Fine, no issue. So this is basically a jump. Okay, so maybe if you want to if you want a jump of 3, so you can get it. Maybe if you want to jump of 4, so you can get it. Fine. So in this way you can basically access multiple values. Now one more thing. So suppose if you just put a colon over here. So what it takes? So it will take like if you didn't give anything. Okay, so if you didn't give a start value and if you didn't give the end value, so it will take a 0 as its start index value, and it will take a last index value. Okay, so whatever the last index value, maybe so last index value is what basically 11. So after 11 it will take a last index value as 12. Okay, so maybe you can say a minus 1. So whatever the basically whatever the string size is. Okay, so maybe it is a 12 or 13 or 15 or maybe whatever. So always a last index value, if you do a reverse indexing, so that is always a minus 1. Okay, so it will take 0 in left hand side, it will take a minus 1 in the right hand side. Okay, so you are able to get a complete string here. Now if I take basically a 2 colon. Okay, so what happens is, so it will start from 0, it will go till end. Now there is a basically a step size. Okay, so suppose if I so step size by default is plus 1. Suppose if I give 2, right? So this is basically a slicing. Okay, so now at this time you are able to understand the forward slicing. Now if I want to do a reverse slicing. Okay, so now if I want to access some element in maybe a reverse slicing, applying a reverse slicing. Okay, so I want to access the same element. Okay, so from M to till H. Okay, so from M till H. Okay, so just like I here I am able to access like okay, so here I am able to access maybe H to M, and now if I want to access from H till M till H. Okay, so how I can basically access this thing? So I want to start from -7. Fine. I want to start from -7. I want to go till a -11. So I need to write a -12 over here. Fine. Now, if I try to run this thing, okay, so whether I am able to get basically a value which I am what, okay, so which I want, whether or not I am basically get this value. Okay, so suppose if I run this, okay, so I get a blank over here. Okay, so why I am getting a blank? So for this thing, you need to basically understand. Basically, you need to remember a scaling concept which you basically studied in your childhood. Okay, so I think in our childhood we are basically learn this scaling concept. Okay, so there in a right hand side we have positive integers, all the positive integers in a left hand side. Okay, and all the negative integers on the right hand side. So I think now you guys can understand. So by default, my step size is what? By default, my step size is always plus one. Okay. So suppose if I want to access maybe from 1 till 5, 1 to 6. Okay, so it is completely fine. So step size is plus one. So one it is here. So one and then two. Okay, so fine. One, so it is here, and then what it can do, so 1 plus step size is 1, so 1 plus 1 is 2. So whatever the value in second index value, you basically it prints for you. Then 2 plus 1 3. Okay, so whatever the value present at basically third index value, it will be able to it will able to print. Okay, now if I basically do the reverse indexing. Okay, so what I'm doing, so my steps my first value is what, minus 1. Now if I add step size is what, step size is basically plus 1. So minus 1 plus 1 is basically what, 0. Okay, so minus 1 plus 1 is what, 0. So you are not able to print anything. So you just want to print minus 7 till minus 12. Okay, so you want to go here to here, but you give a step size, means you basically give the direction as plus 1. Okay, so every time you get a blank over here, nothing else. Fine. So that is why I am getting a blank over here. Now if I change my step size, I make it a minus 1. So then I am able to basically access value in a reverse direction. Okay, so fine. So suppose if I write s minus 7, then minus 12, and then minus 1. Okay, so just I'm able to access this time. Fine, guys. So in this way, you can access any element in basically a multiple elements in a reverse direction. Okay, so in the same way, if someone basically asks you to just write a program to basically get the reverse of the string, okay, to get the reverse of this complete string. Okay, so for that purpose, what you need to do is you just give this thing. Okay, so you know the concept of this double colon. Okay, so single colon and then double colon. So it means what? So you want to start from a very beginning. You want to go till end, but you can give a step size as minus 1. Okay, but you want to go in a reverse direction, not in a forward direction. Okay, so in this way you are able to access a complete string in a reverse direction. Fine. So I think till this place everyone is able to understand, and this is not maybe a very tricky concept. Okay. So this is just basically in a reverse indexing, you just need to basically understand the basically scaling concept. Okay, so if you remember the scaling concept, so if you are able to basically revise the scaling concept, so it becomes very easy for you to basically slice elements from one place to another. Okay, guys, so fine. Now, if I talk about some of the properties in a string, okay, so if I talk about some of the properties, so suppose if you want to check basically the length of maybe a string, so that is nothing but a 12. So you can count. Okay, so I think we already count in a reverse direction minus 1 to 12, and so the length of the string means what? So length of the string means how many basically elements inside your string. So that is nothing but a 12. Fine, guys. So now let me check maybe some built-in functions. So there are different kinds of built-in functions or built-in methods available inside a string. Okay, so that is what. So maybe if I run this a string, so there is a function available inside a string which is called a upper. Okay, so s dot upper. So s dot upper means what? You just convert your basically a lowercase character. Okay, so you just try to convert your lowercase character into the uppercase. Okay, so that is fine. So yes, you are able to basically convert it into the uppercase. Okay, so shivam and then singh. Okay, so you are able to convert it into the lowercase. Now suppose if you try to store it in maybe one string s1, and now if you basically in your variable s1, now if you want to convert it into the lowercase character, so you just need to write s1 dot lower. Fine. So in this way, you can basically these are basically a built-in function which is available inside maybe a string. Okay, so fine. This is not a very big deal, and yes, you guys are able to understand these things. Now there are a lot of basically a Boolean methods which is available inside basically a string. So Boolean methods means nothing. Boolean methods means just you want to check whether basically this particular string is follow basically some condition or not, because Python is able to recognize a boolean things also. Okay, so boolean means nothing, just a true or false. Okay, so suppose if you basically create an element with this maybe a true. Okay, so yes, Python is able to recognize that this is nothing but a boolean type. Okay, bold. So and you from the childhood definition, I think you all know that if a true the value of true is basically the one, and the value of false is nothing but a basically a zero. Okay, so if you do basically this operation, if you apply this operation, so true plus false, so 1 plus 0 is what? 1. Okay, and if you write basically a true and then again true, so it will become a 2, because 1 plus 1 is what? 1 plus 1 is 2. You can also basically concatenate, you can concatenate, or I can say like you can basically add two strings. Okay, no doubt in that. You can add maybe a two string. So suppose there is s is available, then maybe s2, and inside s2 if you write maybe some basically in s2 you basically write maybe a string. Okay, so Python, so in a Python you are able to basically add. So suppose s plus s2. Okay, so yes, you are able to basically make a concatenation operation. Fine. So this is basically yes, you can do this kind of a job with basically a Python operate with basically a string inside a string. Okay, so this is basically a simple task which you are able to perform with the string functions. Okay, so these are all the string functions which are available inside a Python. Fine, guys. So yes, I think you are able to understand now. If you want to add maybe two numbers, okay. So inside a Python, you need not to basically suppose inside maybe another language. So someone asks you to add basically make a program to add two numbers. So you need to define some kind of a prototypes, because inside a Python you need not to define that kind of a prototypes, because Python itself able to understand. Okay, so if there is a decimal, so this is nothing but a float. If there is a basically a complex number, or even Python is able to recognize a complex number. Okay, so suppose if I write maybe any complex number, so 5 plus maybe a 7j. Okay, now if I check the type of basically a C, so it is nothing but a complex number. Okay, so Python is able to recognize even basically a complex number as well. Now, just do one thing. So suppose if someone asks you to make an addition, or maybe in suppose maybe a number. So like you can perform so many operations. So you can perform any numerical operation, maybe addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. You can basically perform this kind of operation. And along with that, if you want to find out a square root of maybe any number, okay, so sorry, the square of any number, or maybe a cube of any number, so for that purpose you need not to worry so much. Okay, so you just need to give a two basically a strict mark, and then write 2. So square of 8 is what? Square of 8 is nothing but a 64. Okay, so yes, you are able to basically you are able to perform this kind of operation. Okay, so if you need basically you want to perform a cube, so yes, you are able to get a cube. Fine. So these are basically a simple operation which are available inside a Python. Now, if I want to find a square root of maybe any value, so for that purpose, there are definitely a different kind of libraries available. So you can import a math operation, and by importing the math operation, you can write like in this way. So math.sqrt, and whatever now the number which you so you just try to write a number of which you want a square root. Okay, so square root of 25 is what? Square root of 25 is nothing but a 5. Now there is one important thing, like if someone asks you to add two numbers, and that two numbers are basically a user defined numbers. Okay, so someone asks you the question, write a program in Python which are able to add two numbers, and that two numbers is basically a user defined numbers. Okay, so that is not defined by you, that is defined by the user. Okay, so in that place what you can do is, so you can write in this way, so a, and then you can basically use an input function. Okay, so input is basically a kind of function which is available inside a Python, and then you can basically write in this way, so enter first number. Fine. In the same manner, you can basically input the second number. Okay. Now, if I basically write a first number, maybe a 56, then maybe if I write a second number, that is a 44. Now, if I try to basically get an addition of these two numbers, okay, so 56 plus 44 is what? 56 plus 44 is nothing but 100. But I am getting a 5644. Okay, so this is not acceptable. I am not basically trying to do this, but I am getting a 5644. Okay, so what happens, guys? Actually, you can basically see that what happens in this place, and this is the magic of Jupyter. Okay, so suppose if I check the type of A, so type of A is what? String. Okay, so I am basically putting a integer value, but it will take it as a string. And now if I basically check the type of P, so it is also a string. So you already know that in a string there is a concatenation operation. So it just try to concatenate with basically a two string. Okay, so it is not able to give you the result. Okay, and why basically these are the string? Because my input function. Okay, so my input function is what? So if I try to check the type of my input function, so my input function is what? My input function is nothing but maybe if I give the value, so my input function is nothing but a string. Okay, so whatever the value I basically put inside this, so that is it will basically convert that number into a string. Okay, so now if I want to convert that number into an integer, because I definitely want basically a summation of two numbers. Okay, I don't want basically I don't want a concatenation between a two basically a integer two strings. Okay, so I want a addition of two numbers. So for that purpose I need to convert its type. Okay, so how I can convert this type? Okay, so for that purpose I can use basically an integer operation. I just try to convert this string into an integer. So I just put a int before that, and yes, now I am able to basically convert this thing into an basically an integer. So 76 and then a 34. So now if I check the type, so type becomes integer, and now if I check between A and B, so A plus B is what? 110. So 76 plus 34 is basically 110. So this thing is called a typecasting. Okay. So definitely you can't basically add two different data types. Okay. So you can't add two different data types. So suppose anywhere. Okay. So the upcoming data types which I am going to basically teach you, like a list, tuple, dictionary, and sets. Okay. So in all the data types, a concatenation operation is available, addition operation is available, but you can't basically add two different kind of a data types. Okay, so you need to convert in basically a similar data type. Okay, so fine guys, I think this is basic data types which are available inside a Python. Now if I talk about maybe a data structures. Okay, so what are basically a data structures inside a Python? Okay, so data structures are nothing but basically you can say things where if we can store multiple data. Okay, so data structures are basically a thing, maybe basically are basically like that, where you can basically hold some different kinds of data altogether. Okay, so in a data structure you can basically hold numbers, you can hold a string altogether. Fine. So now I'm going to start with a tuple. Before that, I think if anyone have any kind of a query, so you can write your query inside a chat box. Okay, no one has any query or any doubt. Okay, guys. So, okay, so I think I can continue. Okay, so if I talk about data structures, okay, so data structures is what? So where I am able to basically store multiple data all together. So now if I suppose I start with a very basic, so basically with the tuples. So there is basically a difference, like I told you that you need to write basically Python is able to understand. Okay, so this is basically a string, then this is a numbers, then this is a tuple, this is a list. So it is able to understand because there is a sign of each and every data structure, each and every data types. Okay, there's a basically a unique sign of each data type. Okay, so suppose I want, if I want to create a tuple, so I can create a tuple inside a parenthesis. Okay. So when I basically try to put some element inside this parenthesis, maybe a 6, 7, 8, and then I can also take maybe string. Then I can also take maybe any integer value. So this is what, this is known as tuple. Okay, so I can basically put any kind of a data types all together inside a parenthesis, and that is what we call a tuples. Okay, now if I check basically a type of my basic data structure, so that is nothing but a tuple. Fine. So this is what we call a tuple. Now, if I want to access maybe any element inside a tuple, okay, so the concept is same. Okay, so in a same way, so like I am able to access maybe a particular uh, string or maybe a particular character from a string by indexing. So with the same technique, okay, so by indexing, I can access any element from this tuple. Okay, so with the help of index value. So index value of 6 is nothing but a 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. Okay. And the length of this tuple is nothing but a 5. Okay, because there are basically 5 elements inside this tuple. Now, if I want to access maybe a Shiva, so 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so yes, I am able to access the Shiva. And in a same way, okay, so in a same way, in a same way, like I'm performing a slicing operation in a string. So in the same way, I can perform a slicing operation in a tuple also. Okay, so I think we are without wasting time in indexing and slicing, because these are basically a conceptual topic, and we already basically discussed about this. And maybe I can just show you one example so that you guys have no confusion in your mind. Okay, so yes, I am able to access. Now, if I talk about maybe some built-in function inside the tuple, so there is not a very, there is no so much basically a function inside the tuple. There is just a one or two function inside the tuple. So if we want to basically know what are the all functions available inside a tuple, so you just need to write a T and then a tuple name, then a dot, and after that just press on this tab button. Okay, just press on the tab button. Okay, so tuple have just two functions, a count function and an index function. Okay, so index means what? If you want to know the index of any value. Okay, so suppose I want to know the index of maybe a 9.7. So index of 9.7 is nothing but 4. Now, count means what? I want to count basically how many times a particular value comes inside this tuple. Okay, so all the values are unique. All the values are comes just one time. Maybe I just make a repetition of some element. So now if I want to basically see the count function. Okay, so if I want to check a 7, so 2. Now if I want to check with 8, so that is nothing but fine. There is basically one property of a string, property of a tuple. So property of tuple is what? Tuple is basically immutable. Okay, so tuple is basically immutable. Okay, so tuple is an immutable data type. Immutable means what? Immutable means you can't make any updation or any modification or any change inside a existing tuple. Okay, so you can't make this kind of basically a changes inside a existing subtuple. So suppose if I want to basically see my tuple, so my tuple is this. Now, if I want to make any change, okay, so suppose at some index value. So suppose all the values are basically a integer or maybe a float. Just one, there is just a one string. Okay, so if I want to remove this, like if I want to make basically updation over here, I just want to put any number in place of Shiva. Okay, so 0, 1, 2, 3. So at a third index value, suppose I want to make an updation. Okay, I want to put maybe some integer value. Okay, but I am not able to do this because tuple object does not support item assignment. So you can write this thing that tuple is an immutable data type. You can't make any change or you can't basically make any updation in an existing tuple. Okay, so this is all about a tuple. Now if I talk about maybe a list. Okay, so now if I talk about a list. Okay, so just opposite to the tuple, list is basically a mutable. So you can make any kind of a change at any point of a time. Okay, so list is not basically making any kind of a complaint for that. Okay, and so suppose if I give basically a list. Okay, so and how you can define the list. Okay, so list can be defined inside a square bracket. Okay, so you can define a list inside a square bracket. Okay, so like a tuple is defined inside a inside basically a parenthesis. List can be defined inside a square bracket. Okay, so and yes, again you can pass a multiple data types. Okay, so 4, 5, 6, 7, and then if you want, you can also pass maybe any strings. Okay, then you can also pass maybe any floating point integer. Fine, that is fine. Now if I check my list, so this is nothing but my list, and if I check a type of L, so type of L is what? Type of L is nothing but a list. Now again in the same way, if I want to make if I want to suppose access any value, so I can access with the index name itself. If I want to make a slicing operation, if I want to perform a slicing, so yes, I can basically perform a slicing operation as well. Okay, so that is completely fine. That is not a big deal. But if I want to check a functions inside a list, okay, so what are different kinds of function which is available inside a list? So yes, I am able to check that functions. And before that, one most important thing. So I told you that you can make any kind of an operation inside a list. Okay, so means tuple is basically a immutable, but list is what? List is mutable. Okay, so mutable means you can make any kind of a change at any point of a time. Okay, so if I want to change this IT skills, because this is only string which is available, which is basically available inside this list, and I want to make it, I want to take only a number. Suppose if I want to take only a numbers. Okay, so what I can do? So I just write its index value. So 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So index value of IT skills is nothing but 4. And in this place, okay, so I can write suppose 10. So yes, I am able to see this change. Okay, so now my basically string is removed and I am able to basically make an updation. So that is completely fine. You can basically make any kind of updation at any point of time inside a list. Nobody is going to ask you, nobody is basically make any kind of a complaint. Okay, so in the same way, if I want to check basically what are different kinds of a function available inside a list. So yes, there are different kinds of a function available inside a list. So append function is available, then a count function is available, then an extend function is available. Index is basically the same function, doing the same thing as in maybe inside tuple. Okay, then insert operation, remove operation, reverse operation. So suppose in this place I just apply a append operation. So what we can do with the append operation? So append means what? Append means update, basically addition. Okay, so in this existing list, suppose I want to add some more element. Okay, so suppose I want to add some more elements. So for that purpose, what I can do is I just write that basically value which I want to add. Okay, so suppose I want to add maybe a 54. Okay, so I want to add 54 at basically at last. So yes, I can add 54. Fine. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 8.72 and 54. Okay, so now 54 is basically added at last. Okay, so this is what I mean by an append operation. So and you can also add maybe any string. Okay, so there is no issue. Okay, so if you add maybe any string, so suppose I want to add maybe one string at the end, yes, you are able to add string. Fine. So this is basically append operation. Now there is one more operation which is try to basically make an addition, but that operation, so like an append operation, there is one more operation, but that operation try to extend basically a list. Okay, so there is one more operation which is called an extend operation, but extend operation is tries to extend your list. Okay, so it is basically not try to append any value, it is not try to append any element, it only tries to extend the list. Okay, so what I mean is, so suppose if I basically use an extend operation. Okay, so suppose I use an extend operation, and in this place I can suppose if I write in this way. Okay, so now if I check n, okay, so this is what, so extend operation is tries to extend. Okay, now I just show you basically a comparison. Okay, with the help of example, you guys can understand what is the difference between an append operation and what is the difference between an append and extend operation. So suppose I take basically a to list. Okay, so I take just a to list. Okay, so maybe Python, and then there is C, and then there is C++. Fine. Then there is an L2 list. Inside an L2, I have maybe a Java, maybe a Ruby, and then maybe a GS, JavaScript. Fine. So I have two lists. Now, if I do this operation, I apply a append operation. So L1 append L2. Okay. So what happens is, So if I try to append L2 inside an L1, so it makes this kind of a list. Okay, so it will end of creating an basically what basically a nested list. Okay, so this is nothing but a nested list. Okay, because if you want to access maybe any element inside this list, so you need to provide a two subscription. Okay, so in a first subscription you need to give an index value of this complete list. Okay, so suppose if I want to access maybe a Ruby. Okay, so how you can access a Ruby? So this is on a zeroth place, then first, and then second, and then third. Okay, so you need to write a third on the very first place, so 0, 1, 2, and third, fine. And then after basically writing a third, you are able to go inside this list. Okay, so this is the nested list. This is the another list inside this bigger list. Okay, so suppose if we want to access a Ruby, then so you need to write one. Okay, int object is not basically sorry, this is L1. Yeah, so fine. So this if you try to append basically a two list, so it will end up creating what? It will end up creating it will end up generating a nested list. Now if I try to perform a same operation with an extend operation. Okay, so suppose if I try to perform a same operation with maybe an extend operation. Now check the difference. Okay, so L3 extend L4. Now if I check that, okay, so extend means it is tries to extend the same list along with the element available inside the next list. Okay, so this is not I will not end up creating a nested list. Now if in this place if you want to access the Ruby, so you can access the Ruby in just a one subscript with one subscript. Okay, so 0, 1, 2, and 3 and 4. Okay, so yes, oh, L3. Fine. So this is the difference between an append and extend operation. Okay, so in an append operation, if we try to append maybe a two list, so you are end of creating the nested list. Okay, but in an extend operation, extend means what? Extend means it tries to extend the same list with elements available inside a next list. Fine. So this is basically a difference between an append and extend operation, and these two properties, these two functions are basically a most important one. Actually in most of the places, I think you can see that in most of the places you are going to use only an append operation, and in most of the places you are going to use only an extend operation. Fine. Now if I want to basically, so this is it. Now if I create maybe a new list with only the numbers. Okay, so because I want to show you maybe some more functions. Okay, fine. So there are basically different kinds of function are available. So there is one function which is called count. So I think count and index you already know. Now if I apply maybe a remove operation, okay, or maybe a pop operation first place. Okay, so pop is what? Pop is tries to make basically pop is tries to delete element from the last index value. Okay, so if you after basically putting this parenthesis, if you try to basically press the shift tab button. Okay, so just press shift tab button after basically after moving your cursor over here, so you can see that what are basically things which is going on inside this pop function. Okay, so pop function by default takes an index value as -1. Okay, so if you it is so pop function is taking what? Pop function is taking the index value. Okay, by default it is -1. -1 means what? It is trying to remove the value from basically a last index value. Okay, so means if I am not defined any index value, so my last value is what? 9. Okay, so yes, I am able to remove the 9. Suppose if I give maybe a some index value. Okay, so with the pop I give a some index value, maybe a 0, 1, and 2. Okay, so if I want to remove 4, yes, so I can remove a 4. Fine, no issue. Okay, in a remove operation, so there is one more operation which is called a remove operation. So in a remove operation, you need to give what? You need to give maybe you need to give, so I just took L. So you need to give basically element. Okay, so which element you want to remove? Okay, so suppose I want to remove this maybe character S. Yes, I'm able to remove this. S is removed from here. Okay, so remove, so there is a difference between pop and remove operations. So pop is able to delete element index wise. Okay, so it tries to delete the element with their index value, and remove is tries to delete the element. Both are trying to delete the element, but both are trying to delete the element in a different manner. Okay, so one is trying to delete the element with their index value, and another one is trying to delete the element with basically with their name, with element value itself. Okay, now if I show you basically one more operation, which is called insert operation. So what happens inside an insert operation? Okay, so in an insert operation, you are not trying to basically make an updation. Okay, so like in an update operation, you just make an updation. So that particular value is basically removed from a list. Okay, so on which you are trying to make a change. Okay, now in this place, this is not happen. So if you check basically index operation, so you need to give an index. Okay, so on which index you want to make a change, and what is the object you want to put on that index value. So suppose in place of Shiva, okay, so suppose, or maybe in place of 8.7, okay, so 8.7 is a floating point integer. I want to, so in place of 8.7, I want to put maybe some integer value. So what happens is, so in place of 8.7, so in place of this particular index value, 8.7, a different value is inserted, and 8.7 is shifted to basically a next index value. Okay, so 8.7 is not removed. Okay, it is just shifted to a next index value. Okay, so if I basically count our index value, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so I can say that on a fifth index value, I want to write maybe a sing. So yes, I am able to insert a sing on this position, and all the other values are shifted by a +1 position. Fine. So this is, I think, these are the operations you are able to perform with the basically, maybe I can say like a list operation. Okay, so there is two more operation, a sort function and a reverse operation. So I think this list is already sorted, otherwise I can show you the sort function. So if you want to basically apply a sort function, and if you want to basically sort your elements in ascending order, maybe you can also do this after applying a reverse operation. Okay, so reverse. So yes, I'm able to basically reverse my list. Fine. Now if I'm trying to basically perform a sort operation, so yes, I'm able to sort my list in an ascending order. Fine. So yes, guys, I think there definitely a no doubt in a list and tuple, and list is definitely a most useful thing inside a Python. Okay, list is basically a most useful thing inside a Python. So I must basically recommend you to basically, if you want more depth and step by step process, so just go through that playlist which I'm basically talking to you once. Okay, so I just at the end I will give you the playlist link. Okay, fine. Now if I talk about a third data structure, that is nothing but a dictionary. Okay, so what is basically a dictionary? Okay, so what is basically a dictionary, and how you can basically create a dictionary, and how basically a dictionary is different from how basically a dictionary is different from a list and tuple. Okay, so you can create a dictionary in this way. Okay, so fine, you can, so dictionary is created inside a curly braces. Okay, so this is first thing. Okay, so anything inside a curly braces is basically a dictionary. Okay, so you can basically create a dictionary in this way. Okay, fine, you can create a dictionary in this way. Now how you can basically create a dictionary? So dictionary is always created in dictionary is always created in which manner? So dictionary is always created in a form of a key value pair. Okay, so in a key value pair. Fine. So there is some key and there is some value inside a dictionary, and dictionary is again a mutable data type, means you can make any kind of updation, any kind of a change at any point of a time. So there is maybe a key, okay, so name, and the basically a value of that key. So value of that key is nothing but a Shiva. Then there is another one key like a age, and the value of that basically key is nothing but a 24. Okay, in the same way, maybe there is maybe there is a key called rating, and maybe 3. Fine. So in this way you are able to create a dictionary. Now if I check the type of D, so type of D is nothing but a dict. Okay, so dict means what? Dict means nothing but a dictionary. Okay, so dictionary is what? So if anyone asks you that how you can basically make a differentiation, so there is basically two things. Okay, so dictionary is always basically created inside basically a curly braces. Okay, so dictionary is always created inside a curly braces, and curly braces with a key value pairs. Okay, so in a form of a key value pairs. Fine. Now if I want to access anything from a dictionary, so you can't access anything from a dictionary with maybe you can say with the indexing. Okay, so if you want to access any value from a dictionary, so you can access any value from a dictionary with their key name. Okay, so you can access anything from a dictionary with their key name. Okay, so suppose if we want to access this 24, so you need to provide a key name for this particular value. Yes, you are able to access that value. Now if you want to make an updation, like I told you that dictionary is what dictionary is. So just like a list, dictionary is also a mutable data type. So how you can basically update your dictionary? So you can update your dictionary. You can also always make an updation with in a value. Okay, so you can't make an updation in a key. You can always make an updation in a value. So suppose if I want to basically update this rating. Okay, if I want to if I want to change this rating, maybe from 3 to a 3.5. Okay, so yes, I am able to basically see the reflection. Okay, so yes, the change are reflected, and now my rating becomes what? My rating becomes a 3.5. Fine. So in this way you can basically make an updation inside a dictionary. And suppose if you want to maybe delete some maybe a key. Okay, maybe delete some key. So deleting a key means what? Deleting a key means you want to delete a complete thing. Okay, so you can delete with the del operation. So del of d, and then suppose if you only want to delete just a one key, maybe a rating from here. So yes, you can delete this. Now if you see the D, so in a D there is just a two basically a key name and a age, nothing else. Fine guys, so these are all the way in which you can basically create your dictionary. You can manipulate your dictionary, you can make any kind of a change inside a dictionary. Okay, now if I check basically dictionary maybe a function, so there is not basically any word thread function inside a dictionary, just a get, and just basically maybe you can find out a copy. So that is not a word thread thing, because in a get or maybe in a copy, so you are only trying to get maybe a value through that through a key. Okay, so suppose if I write in this way, so yes, with that get, if you write basically a key name, maybe an age. Okay, so you get a value. Okay, I think you can get a value of age in this way also. And there is two important thing, like suppose in a programming way. Okay, so if I talk in a programming manner, so maybe if so in many places, so in maybe if else programming, or maybe in any places, so two things are basically necessary. You need to remember, like one function is nothing but a keys. Okay, so d dot keys. So with the help of d dot keys, you are able to access all the key. Okay, so what are the different keys basically available inside a dictionary? And then there is one more thing which is called a values. Okay, one more function is values. Okay, so in this way you are able to access all the values which is available inside a dictionary. Now there is one important function which is available inside a dictionary, which is called nothing but a update method. Okay, there is one method which is called an which is called an basically an update method. Okay, so I just write a update method. Okay, fine. So suppose I create basically a two dictionary. Okay, and inside to dictionary maybe there is an name of maybe anyone. Okay, so inside this maybe I have maybe some name. Okay, so maybe Rohit. Yeah, someone tries to raise their hand. So if there is who is there, who's, and then maybe I score, so I can write maybe 57, and then maybe a rating. So maybe a rating is maybe a 4.5. Fine. In the same way, if I basically try to create, oh, okay, so go ahead and then maybe what maybe a score, and then maybe basically a rating. Okay, then there is maybe a P2 and this is basically a P1. I just change basically an A with this, and I just try to write then score maybe S1 156 and R I just write R as R. Fine. Now if I basically make an updation, okay, so P1 dot update P2. Now what happens is, so if I check basically a P1, so you can check that yes, this works in the same manner as extend operation in a list. Okay, so it tries to basically make an updation. Okay, but at last, like when your basically keys are similar. Okay, so at a point where basically your keys are similar, so it tries to take just one key. Okay, so it tries to take just one key and like you want to make an updation with P2, so it tries to take basically a key from P2. Okay, so it tries to basically overwrite on this and it tries to take RS 4.5. Fine. So this is all about a dictionary, and inside a dictionary you need not to basically worry about most of the things. This is basically a basic things you need to learn inside a dictionary. Now, if I talk about last data structure, that is nothing but a sets. Okay, so if I talk about basically a set operation. So inside a set, there is just a single definition, just basically a basic definition of sets. So inside a set, so you basically sets are also created inside a curly braces. Okay, so any values inside a curly braces is basically considered as set if that value is not in a form of a key value pairs. Okay, so that is basically the set. Now and then if there is one more definition, so suppose if you have a repetition. Okay, so suppose if you have a repetition of values, so set is not basically going to consider that. Okay, so it is a collection of just a unique values. So set is always a connection of a unique values, and that too in a ascending order. Okay, so that too in ascending order. So suppose I try to run basic the set. So yes, you can see that all the repetitions are removed, and you are able to basically see the set in a sorted manner. Okay, so sets are always available to you in a sorted manner. Okay, so this is a simple definition of a set and all the things are same. You can try to access maybe element inside a set in the same way like you do in a tuple and a list. Okay, so sets are basically the same, and you need not to basically worry about a sets operation, because that is not basically worthy to you. That is completely fine. You only need to know the definition of set. Okay, so what is basically real meaning of a sets. Okay guys, so fine, this is basically all about the data structures. Okay, so what are basically different kind of data structures available inside Python. So I think I am able to basically consider all the different kinds of data structures. Okay, and with the differences. Now if anyone have any question, so yes guys, you can go ahead. Okay guys, okay, so 1 second guys. Okay. Okay, so I think nobody have any questions. So I think I can go ahead with the last topic of our day one. So that is nothing but a control statement. Okay, so if anything basically left inside a control statement, so we can continue from a same position basically from in tomorrow class. Okay, so control statements means what? So control statement means I think Python have several control statements. So like if there and you can consider it as a conditional statement. Okay. So maybe if you try to give maybe any condition, and suppose if that condition is not true, so you are trying to basically move on to the next condition. Suppose that condition is also not true, so you are trying to move to the another condition. Okay, in this way, and you are trying to find out when your conditions are basically true. Okay, and maybe suppose you have a multiple conditions and all the conditions are false, so there is maybe a last block where you only have a statement that you need to be print that you need to print. Okay, so that is called if there are basically if, elif and else statements. Okay, so suppose if there is any condition inside a if a statement and that condition is not true, so you are trying to move on to the elif condition, and suppose the condition inside the elif condition is also false, that is not true, so you're trying to move on to the last condition, that is the else condition. Okay, so if both the conditions, so if a condition inside a if statement and if the condition inside a elif condition elif statement is not true, so you are just trying to print the statement available inside the else statement. Okay, so I will try to basically explain you this thing with the example, and definitely you can basically you can create a multiple if and multiple elif statements. Nobody is going to basically stop you from this. Okay, so suppose I just take one number, maybe a 50. Okay, so I assign a 50 inside my variable n, and now if I basically try to make a condition. Okay, so if n, okay, so if n is greater than 20. Okay, so if n is greater than 20, so suppose my condition is true, so 50 is greater than 20, so I think in this place my condition is true, so I can print a kind of a statement. So print, yeah, so the number is bigger. Fine, now if I run this, yes, I am able to basically get the statement because my condition is true. Now, if I basically change this, so suppose if I change this condition, if I change this condition and I write that if n is less than 20. Okay, so definitely my condition is false and I'm not able to get any statement over here. And in elif, I just give another condition. So in elif, I just give another condition. And then I try to basically print a statement. Okay, so suppose I can write like elif condition is true. So yes, elif condition is true. So yes, I am able to basically print a statement available inside elif condition. Now suppose if both the conditions are wrong. Okay, so now if I write a program in that way, so that both the conditions are wrong. Okay, so if n is equals to 20. Okay, so if I want to check, if I want to check, so what happens is, so n is equals to 50. Okay, so 50 is less than 20. This condition is false. So yes, I am not able to print a statement inside a if statement, if condition. Now in elif condition, what is the statement? What is the condition? N is equals to 20, means 50 is equals to 20. Okay, so again my condition is wrong. So I am not able to print basically a particular statement. Now, so if both the conditions are false, okay, so if both the conditions are false, so there is one more block which is called a else block, and inside a else block you never ever basically give a condition. Okay, you just directly write a statement. Okay, so you directly write the statement. Okay, so print, you can write anything. So you can write like above basically above both the conditions are wrong. Okay, so in this way, now you are able to basically get the statement available inside the else block, because you both the conditions are yeah. So it's true, both the conditions are conditions are basically wrong. Okay, so the condition inside a if block is wrong, and the condition you give inside a elif block is also wrong. Okay, so I think yes, the statement inside a else block is true. Now, suppose if you want to make a multiple elif statement. Okay, so suppose if you want to make a nested if statement or nested elif statement. Okay, because in this place you can add a multiple elif. Okay, a number of elif. Nobody is going to basically stops you from this. Okay, so suppose in one place I can write like. So elif n is equals to 30, then elif equals to 40, then at one place maybe I write correct condition n equals to 50. Okay, so you can write a multiple elif condition. Okay, fine. In the same way you can write a nested if condition. Okay, so suppose my condition is true in this place. Okay, now I want basically a more condition. I want to basically add a more condition. So suppose in this place I can write in this way like. So if n is greater than 20, so 50 is greater than 20. Yes, absolutely correct. My condition is absolutely correct. Now, if I want to check maybe one more thing. Okay, so if type of n. Okay, so type of n is what? Okay, so in actuality, type of n is what? Type of n is what? Type of n is integer. But suppose I give a type of n is nothing but basically a string. Okay, and then I write basically a condition. So data type is string. So I know that this condition is not correct. So I am only able to print the first statement. Okay, so suppose in this place, so again inside a nested if condition also. So inside a nested if condition also, I can give a elif statement. Nobody is going to stop me. Okay, so suppose if I write a type of n is equals to integer. So yes, it is correct that type of n is nothing but an integer. So I can basically print a statement that data type is integer. Okay, so yes, I am able to print a statement data type is integer. Okay, so you can see that I'm trying to follow a multiple hierarchy, and there is no restriction that I can't follow a multiple hierarchy. Okay, so I can't follow a multiple hierarchy. based on my choice. Okay, so based on my choice, I can follow a multiple hierarchy. So inside a nested if condition also, I can basically give a elif condition, and then I can try to basically print a statement. Suppose in a similar way, I can basically put a else statement also. I can basically give a I can write here maybe a bool. Okay, so if I can ask like whether a type of integer, a type of this n is a bool. Okay, so my condition is wrong. So if my condition is wrong, I can basically add a multiple elif condition, or maybe I just give a else condition. Okay, I just give a else statement. Fine. So I can go for a multiple hierarchy. Nobody is going to ask me, nobody is going to stop me. Okay, fine. So this is basically a kind of a control statement which is available inside of Python. If, elif, and else. Fine, guys. So now if I talk about a loop, okay, so I think we still have maybe a 10 or maybe a 15 minutes of time. So I can talk about a loop little bit. Then in tomorrow's class, so first I try to solve maybe some question with a loop, and then I'm trying to basically go further. Okay, so I'm trying to go further with the functions. Okay, so that is completely fine. That is not a big deal. So inside a I can start what I can start basically I can give a heading as loops. So there are basically three kinds of a loop which is available inside a Python, and there is multiple three kind of statements is available inside a Python. Okay, so loops are what? A for loop, while loop, and there is one more which is called basically a for else statement. Okay, so that is not a loop, that is a statement. So there are definitely two kind of loops, a for loop and a while loop. Then there are multiple statements which is available inside a Python. Okay, so break statement, then there is a continue statement, then there is a pass statement, and at last one maybe a miscellaneous statement is available which is called a for else statement. Fine. So how you can basically how I can basically show you basically a for loop. Okay. So suppose first I basically I tell you about one more function like a input function. There is one more function available inside of Python which is called a range function. Okay, so range means what? So range means you can define any kind of a range. Okay, so you can define any kind of a range inside this range function. So suppose I can so there is a three values inside this range function. So a start value. Okay, so I want to start from 0. I want to go till 20 and with a step size of 2. Okay, so this is what a range function. Okay, so what are the values which I am basically able to print with this range function? So that is nothing but a even numbers between 0 to 20. Okay, and upper bound is always excluded. Okay, so this is a range function. So inside a range function you need to define a three values: start value, and then the end value, and then the step size. Okay, fine. Suppose if you're not giving maybe any value. Okay, so you are just giving a single value, so that value is considered to be the end value. Okay, so it means what? It means your step size is by default +1, and you want to start from 0 and you want to go till 10. Okay, so 10 means what? 0 to 9. Fine. So suppose I want to print each and every number which is present inside this range function. Means I want to basically print all this value. Okay, between 0 to 10. Means 0 to basically 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, so I just need basically a loop. Okay, so for I in a range, in any range. Okay, so for I in range 10. Okay, so for I in range 10 means what? So inside this range basically all the 10 values are available. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 till 9, all the values are available. So I is basically an iterator which is able to iterate each value and then give me basically give me each and every value. Okay, so suppose I just write a print I. So on the very first place, the value of I is nothing but a 0, then value of I is 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so this is basically a for loop. Now you can iterate in over any data structure. Okay, so suppose you want to iterate over maybe a list. Okay, so suppose if you want to iterate maybe any list. Okay, so yes, you are able to iterate. So suppose if I write for I in maybe a some list. Okay, so for I in a list, and there are different values available inside a list, and you just write a print of what print of. Yes, you are able to print. Now, if you want to basically print some values inside a list with some condition, okay. Now, you already basically learn about a conditional statement. So, suppose from this particular list, I want to access only even numbers. Okay, so from this particular list, suppose I want to access only a even number, and I is just an alias name. Okay, so you can take any name. Okay, so in place of X, you can take my name, you can take your name. Nobody is going to stop you. So 3, 2, 4, and 5, and then 1, then 7, then 8, and then 9, and then maybe a 12. Okay, so from this list, suppose I want to access only even integer. So how I can access only even integer? So I can write in this way. So if X, because X, so on the very first time X is on X value of X is 3, then the second time X value of X is 2, then third time value of X is 4. Okay, so if I write in this way, X modulus 2 equals to 0, so then try to print what? Try to print X. So try to print X only when it is an even number. So this is the condition of even number. Okay, so only 2, 4, 8, and 12 are printed. Rest of the values are so this is not able to print a rest of the values. Okay, so I'm only able to print 4 values, that is a even number. So 2 and then 4, and then basically 8, and then 12. Fine. So this is basically what this is, basically a looping operation. This is just a for loop which is available inside a Python. Okay guys, so I think there is one more basically a loop available for a while loop, and there is then after that there is a multiple statements available, but I don't think that because if I go through basically that multiple state while loop and multiple statement in a very fast manner, so you guys are not able to understand. So I think we can continue from tomorrow. Okay, so with the while loop and then with our functions. Okay, so I think it will not take a much amount of a time, so we can basically continue from tomorrow, and after basically tomorrow's session, and maybe this was just your first session, so I don't want to basically make this session very long, so that otherwise you guys get bored. Okay, so maybe tomorrow session I can make a tomorrow session maybe of 1 hour and 45 minutes. That is fine, but I don't want to make a first session to be very long. Okay guys, so this is it for basically a today's session. And now if you guys have any kind of a query or any kind of a question, so yes, you guys can ask. And so anyone have any kind of a query, so they can raise their hand. I just unmute them and you can ask your query. And guys, there in your chat box, I think two things are shared with you. One is a playlist. Okay, so the playlist which I am talking about, like if you want to go in a more depth. Okay, I try to cover each and every detail, so don't worry about that thing. But suppose if you want to, maybe if you find any kind of a difficulty, maybe if you are an absolute beginner and you find a kind of a difficulty, so for that purpose, you can basically go through that playlist. Okay, in that playlist, I will try to explain each and every the things in a bits and pieces. So maybe that will basically help you. And this free certification course. So for that purpose, there is one attendee form is available in your chat box also. So you guys can also fill that form. Okay, guys. So any query, any question from your side? You guys can raise your hand and I will just unmute you and you can ask your query. Or maybe you can write your query in a chat box. That is also fine. Okay, guys, I think no one has any kind of a query, so that is completely fine. Okay, so we will continue from tomorrow with the while loop, and then we will go through the functions, and then from the third class, we will start with the NumPy. Okay, guys, so thank you so much for joining, and uh, you guys can go through basically, maybe if you have any doubt, so you can basically post your doubt in a comment box, because but the same video is all in just a 1 hour. This same video is available in your basically recording is available in a YouTube. Okay, so you can basically comment, maybe make a comment, or maybe ask your query in a comment box. Okay, guys, so thank you so much. Bye bye.